the Cladle line that was featured in a World Champion list did the same thing, and it ends up being correct more often than not.
Not what people intended when they said the Pyramid Evolution lines. So there goes your Evil Towel, the amazing rare for Yerco, but we're just attaching a double turbo energy. And is that the turn? No, there's got to be more to go here.
Well, you can do more, but it's not good. There's an evolution incense to go ahead and thin a card out of your deck, and that's about it. As there's already multiple Archeops already in the hand now. Maybe you go ahead and add a Lugia V-Star if that wasn't already in there, but this is not the opener that you're looking for.
It's not, 'cause if we look in the top right-hand corner of that Evaltal card, we've got 110, and that just so happens to be exactly what Cramorant hits, and we know it's not the main part of the deck, but there is a Cramorant in Kawahito's deck here.
That's not innocent.
No, it's really not that innocent. If we've got 4 cards in the Lost Zone turn 1, that's 2 Flower Picking and a Chorus's Experiment, and then you get your Cramorant in the active. That's a turn 1 win for Kawahito here.
Yep, I do not see another Pokemon, the basic Pokemon in the hand. We'll see if Yerco was hiding any of that from us, but it is just 3 Archeops now in this opener, and this is a terrible way to start things off.
Yeah, at this stage, just hoping for a second turn. There is a very real possibility at this stage that Yerco does not get a second turn, and that this is essentially the end of it. You don't get to 703 in an international championship without being a very good player with a very good, consistent deck. But right now, Yuki's thinking exactly what we're thinking, which is, hey, any chance? Oh, we have passed over, so this is it. Turn 1 Cramorant from Yuki here. You don't need to get some big combo. You don't need to grind out a long game with Hisui and Gudra V-Star. All you need to do here is get 4 in the Lost Zone. 1 is guaranteed with a Comfy. If you can get another Flower Selecting and find yourself a Cramorant, a Chorus's Experiment, and a way to get it in the active, that's it.
Yeah, Kawahito starting things off here very strong with the Battle VIP Pass found off the Comfey, and that is going to be a fantastic way to keep this rolling. Also, see the Capture energy in hand too, so not only will that be able to find an additional Pokemon, maybe that Cramorant that you're talking about, but also we'll have access to that Retreat on the Comfey too. Yeah,
so with a 3 basics here, you've got to think a Comfey, a Cramorant, and a Hisui and Gudra V, just to keep yourself kind of rolling for the game. So what you don't want to do here is go full on for the Cramorant play, and then miss the Cramorant play, and then pass a turn without a Hisui and Gudra V on the bench. So as much as you want to rush to try and get that early KO on the Evaltal here, you have got to still get that Hisui and Gudra down, and honestly, I don't know. I love getting an energy on it, but you're right, getting the energy to pivot the Comfey here, also a very good option.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 schools of thought, because you could also just go for that Radiant Greninja too. If you can't find an additional Pokemon, just get that down. Maybe you have energies in hand, and you can use those to continue to push for this Cramorant.
Oh, I like that play quite a lot as well. And then it's there for the following turns, for getting those extra cards, turn after turn, discard an energy, draw 2 cards, and kind of move on with your life. So Kawahito here has got a bunch of options. You've got to think, if the turn 1 win is there, you're going to go for it. If it's on the board, you're going to go for it. But again, these players know well enough. I'm sure they've all had a lot of games where they've stretched for this turn 1 win, missed it, and then ended up winning a longer game because the decisions they made on turn 1 have, you know, come back to haunt them. So it's something you keep it in mind. You work for it if you're able to do so, but you still keep your setup normally. And here are the extra draws with that Grading Greninja.
Wow, throws away the Capture, finds, it looks like Scoop Up Net and the Capture to go with it. There's actually 3 Capture energies in the opening hand. This is madness.
That is quite impressive. Oh, we do see here we've got a second Flower Selecting on the board. So what we're really looking for here is Chorus's Experiment.
Yeah.
That would be what you really want here. Get to 4 cards in the Lost Zone and really keep that setup rolling.
Yep, always holding that Capture so that he could eventually make the decision if he needs to go for that Hisui Gudra, or could potentially try to close the game out here. We also see that Comfey in the hand along with the Escape Rope, so that's going to lead to number 3 now.
Might not even need Chorus's Experiment at this stage. If you can just get another Comfy down, Scoop Up Net, something along those lines. So this is very nice indeed for Kawahito. We've got couple of extra cards. What have we got? It is a Scoop Up there. And you get to drop the Trappier, which you know you're not going to need this game. Oh, I'm loving this. The problem is the Comfey you would put active has already used Flower Selecting, so you would need another one to really push this.
Yep, I think he's mapping it out. Has the capture energy in hand, could go for the Comfey, then use the scoop up net. How do you work this out though exactly? I think the Cramorant already in hand too, so just trying to make sure that this is possible now.
So that would need literally just a pivot option for the game at that stage. That would be all you're looking for.
Yeah, I think this is fine. You can just go ahead, use the capture energy, find the other Comfey, and then retreat to it, and then use the scoop up net on the one that you just found when it's in the active spot.
Oh, it's right there. Stop being nervous.
Works. I'm down with that. Capture energy on the active, grab the Comfey, retreat into it, use flower selecting, scoop up net. Cramorant goes active. You've got 4 cards in a lost zone. I think you've mapped it out there. I think we've got it. The flow chart works.
Yep, Kawahito finding the odds. Says, I don't care. Just throw away another card. That capture energy shouldn't be in the lost zone, but 4 is enough. And that's going to be the opening game win here with 6 minutes on the clock.
Oh, wonderful play from Kawahito there. And as soon as you pass with the 110 HP of Altor there, you look at it, and I'm thinking, hang on a second, Cramorant wins. And Kawahito's like, hang on a second, Cramorant wins. And probably Yerco's like, oh no, Cramorant wins. And then,
I mean, even with that opening hand, I think that Cramorant was going to win because there was nothing going on there. It was a Bird Keeper and Irida. It was going to be a very slow setup for Yerco. So I think he's just going to shake that one off, understands I've still got 20 minutes for each of Game 2 and potential Game 3. It's going to be plenty of time to see what my deck is really made of.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're going to lose a horrible game quickly.
Yes.
Give yourself plenty of time for Games 2 and 3. Come back. We know Yerko's not lost a set so far this tournament. 7 wins, 3 ties, 0 losses. So it's far from over here. But if you're Kawahito, you're 8-2. You're liking pretty much all your matchups. This is a deck you're very much prepared to play against because it's Lugia and everyone's playing Lugia. And if you can start with a cheeky first game win and then go into kind of the matchup proper, you've got to be thinking good about your chances for this set as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, that was a dream scenario right there, being able to steal an early victory. And now you get to coast into this game too, get some information about the Lugia player as well. Sometimes there are some tech options there that maybe catch you off guard, and we'll be able to see all of those and to use that information to try to take Game 2 or that Game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if you're Yerco here, one of the things is, if you lose that kind of game, you're like, there's nothing I could do. I literally had no way to get another basic, and my opponent came with my only basic turn 1. That was a game where Yerco might have lost, but there is absolutely no possible way Yerco could have done anything to increase their chances there. That was a game they were always going to lose. And there's kind of, I don't mind losing those games, because you're like, well, there's nothing I could do. There's nothing I did wrong. I can't feel bad about that. I could not have won that game regardless.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't happen twice in a row. That's what we're looking to avoid, because then you get frustrated and you hope that that doesn't ruin your tournament chances. We'll look at the prize cards and see if those have anything to say about it. Not terrible. 1 Aurora energy there for Yerco, so maybe some of those other options aren't going to be around. And it's a pretty thick Gudra line on the other side, so seeing one of those in the prize card's not too bad either.
Yeah, 1 Mirage Gate could be a pain because those item cards are hard to find, but it's only the 1. There's nothing in there which I think should make you feel too bad. So, we look to be going off here. You've got to imagine Yerko's going to be going first. Now, we start with an Oranguru, which is a better starter because at least you've got that. And we do at least have a, if nothing else, there is a Pump Kaboo.
There is a quick ball. Thankfully, I was getting worried because you have to see Lugia on the opening turn, right? So,
yeah. And an Archeops. I like this.
Fantastic. Yep. I don't think there's much to think
Why
about
are you doing
here.
that?
That's a pretty solid start.
Yeah, drop the Archeops with a quick ball. I mean, I've made the point a couple times on stream this weekend. You don't need the Archeops in the discard turn 1. You want them there turn 1. You can always do it turn 2 with a push, but you need the Lugia turn 1. And the good news is, Yuki's not playing a deck here which is going to punish that single Lugia. Against a Mew, against another Lugia, there are some decks where you leave a single Lugia in play, and it can get punished and you can lose. That doesn't really happen against Gudra.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid start to at least have the Archeops in the discard pile. Sometimes when you're playing against other decks that have that Marnie, you start to get worried. Maybe you're not going to be able to find those cards because they disrupt your hand. Also, just starting the Oranguru as well is a great card there too. So maybe keep the best cards from this hand and look forward to maybe your opponent giving yourself a little help.
Yeah, absolutely here. So we do see a little bit of a search there, just trying to make sure what's in the deck. So Lugia's coming down. Yeah. So it's not a terrible start here. You'd like a second Lugia, you'd like another Archeops in the discard pile, some other basics, but you're not going to see a repeat of game one, and that's what Yerco really doesn't want here. So nothing else. That's looking all right.
Yep, this is what you need in order to play the game. And we saw the evolution instance in hand, so maybe a little more playability on the second turn, but can't complain here, especially because you get to play Pokemon now, which is a luxury we did not have earlier.
Oh, and there is a capture energy, so we're going to see another basic coming out from Yerco.
I believe it's a powerful there.
Oh, it is a powerful colorless energy. The Portuguese threw me off there. But there's a little colorless energy symbol right in the middle. So
yes.
I could have seen that, I'll be honest with you.
Well, maybe if we see 4 on the side of Kawahito once more, we'll get that capture energy again. But it is going to be the Hisuian Gudra V, just 2 of them down to start the turn. A little unusual here, as you hope to see a little more.
Oh,
no,
that is not good. I mean, at least it's 2 basics, but now Yerco can kind of do what Kawahito did last turn. And if we see an earlier Lugia V-Star, you can KO one of those Gudra and go up by 2 prizes here. Does he have the hand to actually pull it off, though?
Well, we see the evolution instance along with the Aurora energy, so could go and find double Archeops to the discard pile. I'm just curious what the rest of the hand has, because you're going to need that Lugia V-Star go along with it. But that's certainly enough Pokemon there.
Oh, it's a Professor's Research off the Oranguru. That is big.
Yep, the hand's lining up so
well
here.
He's got the Lugia V-Star in hand anyway.
This is the perfect start.
This is like an amazing hand. So like you say, use the evolution incense to go for the Archeops. You can then attach the Aurora energy, and in doing so you have to discard a card from your hand, which is the Archeops. And then you've even got Professor's Research, which it turns out we didn't even need, but he's got it anyway.
That's right. Yep, that's going to line up perfectly here to knock out one of these Hisuian Gudras. We already saw 1 in the prize cards. That means there is 1 left for the entire game now.
Oh, that is absolutely huge. That was Kawahito on the clock here. You have got to go and get that Hisuian Gudra V-Star next. Well, it's not, I mean, next turn. I'm just thinking out loud here. There's no cards in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, what do you even do with it?
There's no Comfey on the board. Like, you need Mirage Gate. What Kawahito really needs to do next turn is go for the V-Star, Mirage Gate, attack for the turn, boom, let's get rolling. Problem is, you need 7 cards in the Lost Zone in 1 turn, which is possible, but some of the Turbo Lost Zone decks really struggle with that. And I think it's fair to say these Hisuian Gudras are not the Turbo builds.
I mean, Kawahito had the option to play a supporter if he had one, and there's just 6 cards that did nothing in his hand. So to get any cards into the Lost Zone would be a miracle at this stage.
Oh, we do see the V-Star power coming down, that Summoning Star summoning those 2 Archeops. Now we're seeing 1 of them be used onto the Lugia, and you've got to imagine it's only the 1 for the moment. You want to get another Pokemon off of that Professor's Research, so you can then use the second Archeops to get energy onto that second attack or whatever it might be. So this is, I mean, as bad as Game 1 went for Yerco, Game 2 is going good.
Yes, this is perfect. And then now there's an option to just go very aggressive with this Lugia V-Star now. There's no threat, so you could go ahead and throw down the powerfuls. It looks like he's hesitating here, thinking about the capture energies, wants to be a little more conservative with the choices.
Yeah, there are decisions to be made. Rushing when you're ahead is not always the best course of action. Going overly aggressive, using resources which you could need for later in the game can come and trip you up. And I have made that mistake far, far, far too many times. But we do actually see both the Archeops being used here, because one of them was used to get that double turbo onto the Oranguru to get that pivot option, to get it out the active, which I like. No mucking about trying to grab a switch or anything.
Try to get a Evital set up.
I am going to be able to get out the active here.
So you can knock out the
V-Star Pokemon here. Going to be able to retreat, of course, and then on the following turn, you could always just throw additional energies, those powerfuls from the deck, onto that Pokemon to maybe remove a Hisuian Gudra V-Star if you need to. Doesn't matter if you have 4 energies or 8. Eventually, you're going to take those knockouts.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we do still have the Professor's Research in hand. I mean, is there any reason to save it for the following turn, or just...
Your opponent could be holding a Marnie and or top deck it. There's no reason to just throw down additional cards if you don't need to.
No, I'll give you on that one. So we do have a decent option in the hand for Yerco, but I mean, you don't need to play, because what more do you need at this stage? you don't need a backup attacker because your main attacker is in absolutely no danger of being KO'd anytime soon.
Well, Kawahito does find that Colress's experiment. That's exactly what you need to find. Double battle VIP pass. Fantastic on the second turn if you're throwing them in the lost zone.
Yeah, they're good lost zone targets. They would have been great last turn. You see Kawahito there, it's having a little bit of a chuckle like, hey, would have been nice to have these last turn, just saying.
Yeah, just looking at the hand here, it's a lot of scoop up nets and great ways to use Comfey. I don't think there was a switch in there, though, to get the Comfey into the active spot.
It looks like we're literally just using a capture energy to go and get a Comfey.
It's got to be Radiant Greninja with initial energy.
Right.
Try to find additional resources.
That is not good here at all. Not on turn 2, not when you got no cards or only 2 cards in the lost zone. No, there's so little going on, and Kawahito here is just coming from from so far behind.
Yeah,
there's just so little going on here, and you've got to get the V-Star this turn because if you don't, you're being KO'd. But then if you do, you haven't got enough energy. Mirage Gate's not on the board, and you're potentially giving up the KO anyway.
It would have to be the perfect chaining together of the Comfeys back and forth. We'll see if the Radiant Greninja is able to open up that access. It's almost got to be Comfey and a switching effect at this point. Of course, you do have those scoop-up nets that you use, then reuse the Radiant Greninja once more, but then again, that is another card that doesn't Flower Sword.
Yeah, unfortunately, so does look like we are going to have... We're going to use it. Yeah, we are using the Radiant Greninja here. We're going to draw ourselves a couple of cards. They need to be. These are big cards. It is very important to see what these end up being.
And he hides it from us.
They're hidden. They're hidden off the table. We can't even see them, Kyle.
Well, if it's Switch and Comfey, then this is going to be great. But it's not. It's going to have to be the scoop up net on the Radiant Greninja. Once more, concealed cards trying to bail out Kawahito.
Oh, come on. You need something for these 2 cards. Make this a little bit of a game. Again, they are unfortunately hit. Oh, no, we've got to get a little bit of a peek here. There is a Cramorant in hand, which with 2 more cards in the lost zone could at least start getting some damage on the board. But when you're already down 2 prizes, poking of a Cramorant is really not what you're looking for.
And this just speaks to why the list plays that 3-4, because of course it's easy to find the Hisuian Gutra because you have so many ways to search it out, but you also don't want to start it. And this is so terrible. If any other Pokemon was in the active spot, this could very well be a turn 2 Mirage Gate opportunity.
We've seen 3 Radiant Greninja abilities here. We've seen concealed cards 3 times. And we finally see a double Comfey here, and we see the Cramorant. We've actually seen 3 energy be discarded to draw 6 cards with the Radiant Greninja after using 2 scoop up net to pick it up, play it back down, essentially treating it as a new Pokemon, putting that ability on board again. So a lot of draw here, and we do finally see Temple of Sinnoh, a very important card. It's a stadium card that basically says all special energy are just single colorless energy. So you don't get the extra damage of powerful colorless energy, double turbo energy is a single, Aurora energy is colorless, etc., etc.
Of course, the Lugia can always remove this, but if you have the counter stadium now, then you have access to reach for those powerful energies, and if you get those, you can certainly knock out the Hisuian Gutra's V-Star this turn.
Yeah, and I think at that point the game is essentially over, so you need to get rid of the stadium, get the powerful colorless energy. With no double turbo there, you would need, I think, 3 powerful colorless energy, put you up to 280.
Yep.
So there's 1 on there at the moment, 2 powerful colorless energy plus a counter to the stadium would do it here. There is a choice belt in the list, so actually you wouldn't need any more powerful colorless energy if you had the choice belt here. So that would be another option, though you would need to still get rid of the stadium.
Absolutely. So we'll see if the resources are there. I believe the Pumpkaboo is played in this list, and of course there's plenty of space on the bench, but do you have the reach for it now?
Oh, I have absolutely no idea. That Pumpkaboo, I mean, it was there earlier. We've seen the Pumpkaboo, but not at the right time. So that Pumpkaboo coming back out. And it's always awkward when you're overcommitting energy to a Pokemon. You're putting more on than their printed energy cost. But if you're taking out a Hisuian Gudra V-Star when there's no Hisuian Gudra V on the field, I think that is game. So essentially here, I mean, really, if we just get Pumpkaboo, Archeops will get the powerful colorless energy. And I think it's not quite Pumpkaboo for game, but I think it kind of is Pumpkaboo for game here.
Yeah, there's a few options as well. There's also the Irida featured in this list, so you could go ahead and use the Luminion to go ahead and find that, and then get the Lost Vacuum, which could help out here. So plenty of resources as long as there's any access to a Quick Ball or an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, we do see Boss's orders on the Greninja, so it does not look like anything in the hand is going to allow the KO on the Goodra, because you know if the Goodra KO is in play, you know Yerko's going for it. The good news is we do see the KO, and it gets rid of the Temple of Sinnoh. Bad news is, I can tell you that is not the only Temple of Sinnoh in Kawahito's list. We've got the full play set of 4. That is a card which is being used a lot.
Yeah, it's not the only one in his hand. I think he's holding an extra one in there too.
Oh, no.
Oh, we do see the Courses Experiment. That's great to find there off of the Flower Selecting. Going to be able to get to the 4th and 5th card into the Lost Zone now. This is about the only way that you come back from here. You're going to have to put all your eggs in this last basket of that Hisuian Goodra V-Star.
And it's possible. Like, all you really need this turn is two Flower Selecting, and you need Mirage Gate and another Energy, and then you're rolling. And that is actually something you can do. And Yerko has gone all in on this this one Lugia. There isn't another Lugia on the board ready to evolve. Now, obviously, Yerko could, bench one next turn, but you're a little bit behind. This Lugia is supposed to be finishing out the game, and it's so unfortunate that Temple of Sinnoh couldn't have been bumped by Yerko last turn, because that would have KO'd the only Hisuian Goodra, and if I'm Kawahito, I'm conceding at that point.
Yeah,
I'm not coming back from that.
The only option you have there is the one of Ordinary Rod to bring them back, and you're already down 4 prize cards at that point, so I don't think that would work out too well here. Kawahito just trying to figure out exactly how to map this. He's been on this Courses Experiment for a minute now, and has some important resources there. We see the Energy Recycler, and sure enough, Radiant Greninja was used 3 times last turn, so a lot of energies that will be necessary for Mirage Gate are lost currently.
Yeah, that is a downside of using it a bit too often. Now, we do see a Hisuian Goodra V-Star hit in the Lost Zone, but remember, there are 4 of them and only one's been played so far, so that is not a big loss. Now, we do see the Scoop Up net. That is going to bring a Comfey into the active. That is going to go to 6 cards in the Lost Zone. We're not there yet, but we are very, very close. Oh, and it does actually give access to another Comfey there if you want it. That was one of the 2 options from Flower Selecting.
Yep, finds the other Courses Experiment as well there. Do you even have the luxury of thinking about next turn? Of course, you have plenty of access to other Comfeys. You have one in your hand already, and the Capture Energy as well, but actually going to value that one here and get that down.
I think the big difference here is in a Hisuian Goodra list, you're not really going for 10 cards in the Lost Zone to activate Sableye like you are for some of the others. It really is 7 cards in the Lost Zone, Mirage Gate. And like you say, it's not about next turn. You need Mirage Gate now. So, and it does look like we are going for a Capture Energy. Of course, we know there's not going to be a Hisuian Goodra. There isn't one available, unfortunately, at the moment. One in the discard, one in the prizes, one on the board. So, I mean, are there any other basic Pokemon you really want here?
I'm not going for Drapion V.
You've lost your Radiant Greninja. You've got so many Comfey at the moment. You've got your Cramorant down, and I mean, it literally is. It's either Drapion or another Comfey. They are literally the only Pokemon available. So, yeah, it does look like we are going for another Comfey here, and just, you can select all the flowers you like.
Yep, and it has the additional 4th one in hand already. So plenty of flowers, enough to make a bouquet at this point, but I just need to use one more now to get that Mirage Gate rolling. Has the retreat here, and we'll see if this last Flower Selecting can help out in working in the attack.
It is an energy, and that energy could be useful, but do we have a Mirage Gate in hand? I'm trying to have a little bit of a peek here. I'm not seeing it. Or, there are a couple actually in hand. Yeah, you've got a better angle than me there, Carl. You're right, there are a couple in hand. And we've got the energy as well. Although there are already a couple energy on Hisuian Goodra, so you don't really need the energy. So, yeah, as long as there is a pivoting option to get that Comfey out of the active, which it does look like we've got as well, I think we're going to finally see Hisui and Gudra. It's taken a while. We're 25 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
But we're finally going to see an attack with it. There's the escape rope.
Yeah, the escape rope is going to mean that one of these one prize Pokemon is going to be knocked out here. Can obviously hold on to both of those Archeops, as they are so important to finding all of the energies for the Amazing Rare Yveltal. That could take a huge knockout on a Pokemon like this Hisui and Gudra V-Star if it doesn't find a big Parasol.
Yeah, that is very, very big. Big Parasol, big by name, big by nature. Stops the automatic KO on the Amazing Rare Yveltal, which we actually were talking about in just the last game. So we have got the Mirage Gate, which is huge here. That's going to get the last 2 energy, which is going to turn on your rolling iron attack. But without that big Parasol here...
It's not even played in the list.
Oh, there isn't even one in the list?
Yeah, I just looked, and I was expecting to see one, as that has been, it's been standard for some of our players, but sure enough, when you go with these more consistent lines here, playing that 3-4 line, you do have to make some cuts, and does not play the Parasol, so is going to have to risk it right here against the potential Amazing Rare Yveltal.
I suppose one of the... that's what I was going to say. You want Temple of Sinnoh, because Amazing Rare Yveltal really relies on stuff like Aurora Energy, Double Turbo, etc. So that Temple of Sinnoh could be all you need. That could be just as good as a big Parasol here. So Kawahito does take the first prize there, at least from his side of the board. And that Rolling Iron does mean that Hisui and Gudra will take 80 less damage from attacks next turn. Oh, but it seems like Lost Vacuum is coming down straight away here. And I don't think that Temple of Sinnoh is going to last.
No, it will not. I think we're going to lose that here now. Get that additional card into the Lost Zone. The Professor's Research was held on to on the previous turn as well, so that should be enough to dig for some of the resources. You just hope not to draw into too many of those colored energy cards, as those are going to be the way that Amazing Rare Yveltal would take the knockout here, and you've already lost your Oranguru, so you can't really bring them back.
No, that could end up backfiring if there's cards you want. We've seen this throughout the history of the game. Sometimes there are cards that get stuff from your deck, but if you draw into those cards, you can't actually get them from your deck, and that can end up being a big downside. But here we go.
This is tough. Yeah, the Heat Fire energy was thrown away in this Professor's Research too, so it has to be the 3 Auroras, I believe, in order to find the knockout here with Amazing Rare Yveltal. You just have to draw into the card without finding any of those energies, or at least you could use it as your attach for the turn, potentially.
And it looks like he's got the Ultra Ball, but he hasn't got any of the Aurora energy. So
that's how we drew it up.
That worked out absolutely beautifully there. And we've got a Quick Ball, actually, so we don't even need the Ultra Ball here. Quick Ball will do fine.
Were there any potentially in the prize cards? We're going to see that now as the Aurora energy on the top. Looking at the emerging 1, 2, it has
they're
the
definitely
third.
all in the deck there.
Woo! That is going to be an amazing knockout that we see here as the Amazing Rare Yveltal lines up perfectly with the amazing destruction.
Yeah, that is a perfect combination of cards. 3 Aurora Energy and a Double Turbo coming from those 2 Archeops. And this is going to be everything they need there. That is going to be perfect. That Yveltal is going to get the KO. Even had the big Parasol been played, it still would have been removed by that Lost Vacuum anyway. The Temple of Sinnoh was a good shout. It was a very good try. It could have worked. Unfortunately, this time it is not working. And I think at this stage, Yerco is going to go down to 1 prize remaining, take all the Gudra off the board. And I think at this stage, this game is sewn up for Yerco at this stage.
Yep, thankfully for Kawahito, there's still 21 minutes remaining in this match. So if there's no other Pokemon ready to go here, of course, got Cramorant lined up for a big knockout, but what do you do after that? It's got to be Ordinary Rod finding Gudra, and your opponent's going to take a prize card. So I think we all understand where this is going.
There is a concession from Kawahito. We are going to game 3. Of course, there was no point even KO. So if you KO the Lugia, which you couldn't, Yveltal gets you. If you KO Yveltal, which you could, Lugia gets you. It was a very much unwinnable game. But the players are still in very good spirits, so this is good. They're heading into game 3, and we've got plenty of time for a game 3. That was... We've seen a game where Yerco just could not get rolling. And we've seen a game where Kawahito kind of got rolling, but then not for very long and ran out
Way
of steam.
too late, yeah.
Corn.
It was a really bad opener there, and it did not work out. So hopefully both of these players find the proper hands to give us a fantastic game number 3 here. Certainly possible. The matchup is a lot of fun, a lot of back and forth with, of course, the counter stadium battle. A Pokemon that has the ability to just remove that stadium in its attack, but then you're not taking the knockout generally as the powerful energy is shut down. So a lot of fun ways to see this matchup play out. Excited to see what these players have for us.
Oh, absolutely. And it's always nice seeing Hisui and Gudra. I know it was on stream yesterday, but I wasn't on the desk at that point. I was wandering around the hall, saying hello to people, seeing what was being played, you know, watching the game, you know, a little bit while I could. It's nice to actually get to sit here and see some lovely Hisui and Gudra action as we're here.
Yeah.
A beautiful international field that we have here. Of course, Yerco from Chile and Kawahito from Japan playing here in Melbourne, Australia. It's fantastic that we have this opportunity ahead of us. Yerco trying to remain undefeated onto the tournament. Would love to move his record up to 8-0-3 and has about 20 minutes to do so.
Yeah, we are waiting for the game to get rolling. I believe we're just having a little bit of a chat there, just sorting something out before we get going into our game 3. But as we said before, if there is a slight delay getting into the game, it's not a big deal because there will always be a time extension if it takes too long, so it's going to be all good. So, I mean, going into this game, really, we're looking for the players to get rolling. We've not yet seen a game between these two players where they've both set up and done their thing. So I'm interested to see kind of how this goes. If the Lugia gets the early summoning star, but then the Hisui and Gudra V-Star actually is able to come around then and, you know, start doing its thing, that's going to be a very different game to what we've seen so far.
We've been looking for that as well. I think the opening Pokemon is also pretty crucial for Yerco, as if Kawahito is able to take one of those initial prizes with the Cramorant, get full use out of that, and then move into the turn 2 Rolling Iron, you can start to see the prize cards map out very easy for Kawahito's side.
Absolutely, and it is, you know, you can see there, we've got a properly international tournament. I love how international this international championships is, because I know it's called an international championships, but we've got a real mixture of nationalities here, a real mixture of languages, and it's really, really lovely to see. I mean, me personally, I love seeing these Japanese cards on stream. I'm trying to teach myself Japanese. I've taught myself to translate Pokemon cards, and it's just nice seeing, you know, there's different languages of cards, getting tripped up by the Portuguese powerful colorless energy. It's just, it has a real nice international flavor, which is exactly what we're looking to see, you know, at these international championships. You know, we made the point yesterday, but we haven't said it today, so let's say it now. The Japanese players have moved on from this format. They're actually already playing with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet cards, and they're essentially coming back in time to join us in this format with Silver Tempest and Crown Zenith.
That's right, and sure enough, choosing with the Hisui and Gudra V-Star to try to win an international championship. We'll see if the prize cards can help out here. Seeing that Mirage Gate at the bottom is actually pretty good. Usually you're already drawing prize cards because of one of those, and then you can start to chain it together with the second.
And you got that, oh, look at that, Drapion right at the top of the prizes. You ain't going to need it. Stash it away, jobs are good.
Oh, goodness. Yep, well, we have a fun one ahead of us now as we look at the opening cards here for these players. Yerco starting things off, unfortunately, with the amazing rare Evital.
Oh, yeah, but look at Kawahito's first turn. You've got the Comfy in the active. You got the Hisui and Gudra V on the bench with the energy attached and a Cramorant for good measure. For a turn 1 going first, that was not bad. So we see the Irida coming down from Yerco here. I mean, it gives you some options, but it's not your ideal turn 1 play.
Yeah, but at least you're guaranteed to have that Lugia on the opening turn. Your opponent only got 1 card into the lost zone, so that has to feel pretty great. But seeing that Amazing Rare Evital in the active spot is super unfortunate. You want to hold on to that resource for when you need to remove a huge Hisui and Gudra V-Star. Instead, maybe going to have to see a double turbo early on. Try to get this Pokemon to the bench.
Yeah, that is something you're going to need to do. Just had confirmation here that there was a 2-minute extension that has been given to the players for a pace of play warning. So, yeah, just to let everybody know, if you saw the time jump up by a couple of minutes, that's why that happened. So we are looking at, it looks like a Luminion is coming down. Of course, Irida allows you to go and grab a water Pokemon. You might not be playing a deck filled with water Pokemon, but you do at least have the fish.
Yes, it's not nearly as cool as when you played this in Palkia all those years, but sure enough, it works out just fine. Sometimes you even need that Manaphy on occasion. You find it in the right situation, but guaranteeing that second supporter, guaranteeing that Lugia, Irida is a pretty solid opening card.
Oh, absolutely. Go and get yourself an item card. And we do see that Ultra Ball has discarded an Archeops, and it's searching out another Archeops. So if we can be getting a Lugia down, and there's no way you search that second Archeops if you can't get a Lugia, you've got to imagine anyway. Yeah, it looks like we've got a Capture Energy in hand. So, oh, and a Quick Ball as well. So we're absolutely rolling here. Quick Ball away the Archeops, and this is absolutely ideal. Being able to get a Lugia down and 2 Archeops in the discard turn 1 as a Lugia player, you can't really ask for much more.
Absolutely. You know your opponent also plays Marnie, and that might just be the only supporter they have to try to bail out of this situation. So getting those Archeops into the discard pile, guaranteed, and having that Lugia down means that you are pretty likely to find what you need on the next turn.
Yeah, this is a nice start. Both players have had decent starts here. And this is good. This is what we asked for, Carl. This is what we wanted. We wanted a game where both players set up a little bit and go rolling. And this is nice. So we have got a Capture Energy there. I mean, I like going for a second Lugia here. Gudra's not known for its explosive starts. But there is... Oh, no. I think probably trying to get 7 cards in the Lost Zone and boss's orders on the Lugia might be a bit too much. I think that Lugia's probably safe.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot here in order to do that.
Yeah, technically possible. It could happen, but I don't think that Lugia's getting KO'd.
Yep. From my look at the hand, I think I saw the Aurora energy in there along with Powerful energy. I'm not sure if there is an additional way to get a Pokemon down onto the bench. But yeah, it's just going to be that Powerful once more.
It's not entirely... not what you're looking for, and actually there's no choice about in the Gudra list, so no, that Lugia is 100% safe here. You've got the Powerful Colorless Energy, you've got the 2 Archeops in the discard. That is a very nice start. So that's pretty much all you're really looking for. Yuki here, you do actually have a chance to get a cheeky hero with Cramorant again on that event. We saw it game 1 and it worked nicely.
Yeah, just looking at the way that this could potentially play out, it definitely lines up here. We see the Capture Energy that could go for the second Comfey, and then there's a double Escape Rope play if you want it. So we could certainly see the Amazing Rare Yveltal bounce back and forth from the active spot twice and line up into a knockout with Cramorant.
Yeah, that would work very nicely indeed. We see that second energy coming down onto the Gudra. That is, of course, now this actually is a Capture Energy this time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We know that one. That looks very nice there on the Sui Gudra.
So now we're going to get a basic Pokemon. The Capture Energy, of course, you've been seeing it all weekend. You're going to see plenty more of it. You attach it to a Pokemon, and hey, look, now you get to go and search your basic and put it down. It might just be a colorless energy, but it gets you a basic Pokemon in any deck that can roll with colorless energy, and there is a colorless in Gudra's attack cost. You're going to absolutely love it. We got a second Comfey here, and I don't think we've selected all the flowers we're going to be selecting here.
Yeah, we will see if there can be a couple more found. Of course, finding a supporter for the turn would be lovely. That course Experiment, potentially, but if not, might just have to use the Marnie and try to find a card like a Scoop Up Net here to help, as both flowers have been selected.
Oh, I do like the escape rope here. If you can get an attack with the Cramorant onto Lugia here, that's going to soften it up nicely. And we do see that awesome Temple of Sinnoh and combining it with a Marnie. So Kawahito here is going for the disruption angle, turning off all of those special energy, no extra damage with a powerful colorless energy, and then putting Yerco down to a 4-card hand. The question is, does Kawahito have anything to finish his turn off?
That is not the cards that you needed right there. Just the Hisuian Gudra V-Star to at least protect this Pokemon, but just a few energies. I think maybe a supporter for the following turn and a Battle VIP pass.
Oh, that is not what you're looking for. I mean, at least you're going to have the Hisuian Gudra on rolling on next turn, but it's not what you were looking for. So a bit of an opening here for Yerco to get the Lugia V-Star. Then you can get your couple of Archeops, start getting some energy on the board, and at least start taking prizes. Is there any possibility here we go boss's orders with a counter to the stadium, get a giant KO? That would be the dream.
That would be the best Marnied hand I've ever seen. It certainly could happen. It's already started with the Lugia V-Star here to get the turn 2 summoning star.
Yeah, do we have any way of maybe searching out a Luminion in the hand? We've got Evolution Incense at least, I did peek there.
There is a Capture Energy in the hand as well, so maybe that could help out. Find a Pokemon like a Rangaroo to keep looking for some more cards, but you start to worry about how you play your bench at this stage. Of course, it's very clean so far with the double Archeops and the Yveltal.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So we are going to search through here with that Evolution Incense. Of course, it's not going to be able to get something like a Luminion. It's not going to be able to get you a Pumpkaboo to bump the stadium, because those are obviously basic Pokemon. And it does seem like, is that just an Archeops we're grabbing out here? Yeah. Grabbing out an Archeops, not for any real reason. This is pure deck fitting going on.
And we'll see if there's the supporter in hand that can help out, maybe get this Pokemon into the discard pile. Looks like Serena potentially could help out here.
See, if we had a way to bump the stadium, Serena would be great for gusting up that Hisuian Goodra to try and take a KO. But without the powerful colorless energy doing the extra damage, you could still do this. You won't get the KO, you'll just get a bunch of damage on the board. What you really want to do is get the KO. So the question is, do you use Serena to draw cards while KOing a Comfey, or do you use Serena to gust up that Hisuian Goodra and then get a bunch of damage on the board trying to get a KO next turn?
Yeah, removing the Temple of Sinnoh is definitely a valuable thing to do in this stage. Every time that isn't played right back down from Kawahito, you know the Amazing Rare Yveltal could just take a huge knockout on this Hisuian Goodra V-Star. So putting the pressure on, attacking with Lugia, always making sense, and you're going to try not to attack into Moisture Star. You want to be taking that one-hit knockout.
So Serena is coming down here. It does look like, of course, that is a supporter card, gives you two different options. It's either a draw supporter or a gusting supporter. Here, you've called it yourself, Carla. It's going to be used as a draw supporter because, of course, well, that Moisture V-Star lets you completely heal.
Exactly.
So you either want to get a big KO or maybe go somewhere else. So KO the Comfey, bump the stadium with the effect of Lugia's attack, hope to get that turn where Yveltal is on board.
Yeah, it looks like a huge commitment here as the Lugia takes out this poor Comfey. But it's mainly about the stadium there, getting that Temple of Sinnoh removed and drawing that prize card.
Yes, not a bad start there at all, and you kind of saw that coming because there was a bunch of capture energy coming down. And the fact that you were going for the capture energy, not the powerful colorless, said that you weren't going to be extending to try and KO the Goodra this turn. It was about just getting an attack off, getting the minimum energy you could on the Lugia. That was the big giveaway there. So for Kawahito here, it's try and find a new Temple of Sinnoh, get that third energy on the Goodra, and we'll start to finally get some attacks rolling.
Yeah, we hope to see that this turn, the fourth card going to the Lost Zone, and when you're throwing away Scoop Up, that probably got some good stuff going on.
Yeah, there are certain things, like if you're only throwing away Battle VIP Pass or your Drapion, you're like, yay! When you're throwing away something like a Scoop Up there, it's a bit sad, but it means that what you got was really good.
Exactly. Yep, another tough decision here, trying to get to number 5 and 6 into the Lost Zone, but hey, Battle VIP Pass, that's an easier one.
Well, there is a Temple of Sinnoh in hand, and there was a Temple of Sinnoh on that Chorus's experiment. So it looks like we got at least 2 more turns of stopping that Yveltal coming down and being a bit of a threat. So Yuki is going to run out of this eventually, but for the time being, there's going to be a couple of turns where we're going to be okay.
You see the capture energy now. See if there's a Pokemon that could help out here. Maybe if some additional energies are around, you can go find that Radiant Greninja to draw into some additional resources and just try to get to the 7th card into the Lost Zone.
Yeah, that would be nice. And you got that Mirage Gate on board, which you don't really need now, but you will need it later on in the game, and you can use it for some other fun plays. I suppose really it's just Hisuian Goodra. There are certain matchups where that Radiant Greninja is a great attacker. This really isn't one of them, especially because you're not playing that Sableye to finish off. You know, we saw a great play yesterday with a Radiant Greninja hitting 2 Archeops and then a Sableye finishing them off, and it was lovely. But without Sableye, that's just not a play you can make.
Yeah.
So we draw some with concealed cards here, and it does seem like we're just working up towards this Hisuian Goodra attack.
Yep, expect to see another Comfey soon here, potentially that retreat, but Still going to be looking for that scoop up net or switching effect at this stage. And yeah, there are plenty of scoop up nets, so this is going to be a very solid turn here.
Well, that will explain why one ended up in the lost zone, because Kawahito's like, I've got plenty. Alrighty then, so does look like Amani hits the lost zone here, and are we at 7 yet? I believe that is exactly 7 now. So that means that Mirage Gate is on board, and straight away, as if like magic, that Mirage Gate does come down. And we know we got to scoop up net to get that Comfey out of the active, so we are definitely going to see an attack here. Worth noting, we are down to 7.5 minutes remaining here. We are tied at 1 game each, and as we said, the cut is pretty harsh down to a top 8 from 60 players. You don't want to be taking too many ties, especially not in round 2. If you have to take a tie in round 4 or 5 when you're really getting down to it, maybe. But these early rounds of day 2, you've got to try to be stacking up those wins. And we saw that Owen in the last game played very, very fast and really made sure to get that win, not a tie. Are we going to see a similar thing here? Because we are very much running out of time, Carl.
Yep, once again, as you were talking about this being an international tournament, just running into a little issue here with the Mirage Gate. Tried to attach double metal down, and of course they have to be different energies. So just confirming that he could sub out that metal energy for a water onto the Comfey. And I think that everyone should be okay with it being played down there. We'll see if that resolution comes about.
Does seem like we are cracking on quite nicely, are we? Or are we holding here? It is interesting, of course, we've got 2 table judges here. We are in day 2, so we are very much, you know, we're here with the judges. We've got very, very good judges here who know exactly what they're doing. These Pokemon professors are the absolute best at what they do, so they are going to sort out any of these issues for us. But it does seem like there is a little bit of discussion probably about the Mirage Gate, like you said. And, you know, it seems like a card that was kind of designed for Giratina V-Star. And, of course, if you look at the attack cost of that, it is very much, you know, Psychic and Grass.
Yep.
So that's why it kind of works like it does.
Knew it was a mistake.
You need to go and get 2 of different typings and then actually bring them in. It does look like we've got a couple of translators coming in here just to make sure that everybody knows exactly what is going on.
Yep.
And I love Mirage Gate, right? Because Mirage Gate opens up so many options that you would not normally have. You know, I was talking yesterday about these amazing rare Pokemon that just shouldn't be viable. They're too awkward. And yet, all of a sudden, because stuff like Mirage Gate lets you go and get these super awkward energy costs, we see, you know, amazing rare Yerco, amazing rare Veltal, we've seen played in some of these Lost Box decks. It's better in Lugia, admittedly. And it's just, you know, these cards, the Zamazenta from Crown Zenith, which should be a little bit too expensive. And all of a sudden, these cards aren't being played. And I love seeing these weirder cards. And cards like Mirage Gate that open them up just make me happy.
Yeah, we were talking to Grant Manley earlier yesterday, and he said that arguably this is one of his favorite cards, as it's opened up access to so many different plays, so many different cards. And when you're thinking in your think tank with all these amazing players, you have access to an abundance of resources that you could sneak into your Lost Box deck.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I feel very much the same way about your Archeops in your Lugia deck, because you can go and get stuff like your Aurora Energy is really the one that unlocks it. Now all of a sudden, you know, you got your Double Turbo, your Aurora Energy, and, you know, things like Amazing Rare Veltal, that should be out of the range, you know. It's clearly like, tee-hee-hee, get a KO on anything, ridiculous attack cost. The card designers knew what they were doing with the Amazing Rare Veltal. They were like, hey, it gets a KO on anything. Now let's make it borderline impossible to use.
Exactly. Yeah, usually this card was put in a sleeve and a top loader and put on a shelf. And sure enough, it's been on the biggest stage that we've had in a long time. We've seen this card doing a lot of work.
Because, you know, 2 Archeops, you got Aurora, Double Turbo, and you're like, oh, hey, I can actually use this card now. And it's just, I love when we get new cards like your Mirage Gate, like your Archeops, that just completely unlock cards that we'd kind of completely forgotten about. The example I gave on stream yesterday was how Mewtwo came along, and all of a sudden, Mewtwo EX in Next Destinies, and all of a sudden, Celebi Prime went from absolute bulk fodder to one of the best Pokemon Primes in the entire game. And, you know, certainly there were other cards like Skyro Bridge giving it free retreat that helped. And I love seeing these cards coming out and sitting there, and then 2 years later, all of a sudden, we're seeing them at these international championships, winning these big games. you know, and running along with these newer cars like your Lugia, like your Comfey, and things along those lines.
Oh, that's right, yeah. We got to go back in time a good, 10, 12 years there, and it's of course, a cherished memory of all of us who've been playing that long. A lot of good times that we've had with those cards and those decks. Looks like we are getting closer to the resolution here, as at least the water energy's confirmed played down onto the Comfey here. And we'll see if the translators can get across that information appropriately, and of course expect to see that time extension put back on the clock so we can get a nice full game here potentially.
Yeah, and it is legitimately impressive the number of different languages that are covered by our translation team, you know, at the tournaments, not just here, at all of the big tournaments we have. We are incredibly lucky to have so many talented individuals here, you know, speaking all these languages, and just kind of making sure that all these players from all these different countries can all come around and play together. But I'm seeing thumbs up from various different people. It looks like we are rolling, and I'm willing to bet there will be another time extension coming in a minute. We will give you confirmation of that as and when it comes. Someone will give me a bit of a poke, but it looks like we are back. Where were we, Kyle?
It was a Mirage Gate, and it was for a relatively irrelevant energy, as it's going to be played down on the Comfey, just for retreating purposes, maybe at a later stage, as we already obviously have enough energies for the Mirage Gate. We'll see if Kawahito wants to go digging a little further here, and seems to be the play here now with the scoop up net onto the Radiant Greninja for 2 additional cards.
Yeah, and we do see some extra time has just been added to the clock there. So we have had that little bit of time extension. That clock, I believe, should now be correct. So we do see an escape rope coming down here. That Lugia is going to be forced out of the active. Yerco is going to be forced to put one of these single prize Pokemon into the active. And it looks like Goodra's going to... Well, it depends. If it's an Archeops, it has to be Goodra.
I mean, all of these are bad. You either lose the way to charge up your Major Evital, or you lose it itself. And sure enough, just decides that it's going to have to be passed on here. And that's the issue when you start this Pokemon. We would not have seen this played down had it not been for the active.
And that Temple of Sinnoh does come down, which is very, very important. Stop those powerful colorless energies, giving Lugia a chance to get a KO. So we do see a KO with Hisui and Goodra, and we're finally rolling with Hisui and Goodra here. It takes a little bit of time to get going, but it's now taking 80 less damage from attacks. So it is going to take a lot to KO this. And bearing in mind with the powerful colorless energy being shut off, it's as good as basically saying, yeah, you actually can't. You're just not KOing this. So that's going to give Kawahito a couple of turns here to try and take some prizes, try and build up a little bit of a buffer of prizes. But even after the couple of time extensions we've had, we are still down to 3 minutes remaining here.
Yeah, this is a lot to ask. Rolling Iron, of course, going to reduce a lot of this damage. The Temple of Sinnoh says the powerful energies aren't doing anything, so you're left with some difficult decisions to make. The Amazing Rare Evital is always the one that you want to go for in this case, but it's in the discard pile. So what Pokemon can help you out in this instance, or do you just have to attack into this Pokemon here and say, you know what, I'm not going to be dealing nearly enough damage, and I'm going to have to try to make you use Moisture Star?
I think that's probably it. I mean, the thing is, when you got Hisui and Goodra, there's 2 ways you're taking it down. One of them is, hey, I've got an amazing rare Evital or something along those lines that can come and get a big KO. Otherwise, you've basically got to just attack turn after turn after turn and hope to win the war of attrition, which is not a great plan, because that is literally what Goodra wants you to do, but a lot of the time that is what you've got. Now, we do see Stoutland V coming down here, so remember that does take an extra prize when it KOs a basic Pokemon. We're going to need some powerful colorless energy to make the most of it, and we're going to need Temple of Sinnoh off the board, but I think maybe trying to steal some extra prizes off some Comfey here before the game finishes.
Yeah, that's going to be a great way to potentially find some prize cards with the clock dwindling here. Just at 5 prize cards, 1 taken, and a large Pokemon that you're not going to be able to knock out anytime soon.
Yeah, that's what the Goodra players are looking for. They don't want you taking 3, 4, 5 prizes before the Goodra comes down. They want you taking like 1 prize, and then you got to try and get through the Goodra. The good news for Lugia is every time you attack, you do take out that stadium, so Temple of Sinnoh is gone. The bad news is you did just 120? No, a little bit more than 120.
Yeah, it should be 140.
There we go. You called it there. It is exactly 140. 220 minus 80. And now Now it's over to Kawahito here. Do you have an answer? Is it too early to Moisture V-Star? Can you have a little bit of healing going on here? Or do you just Moisture V-Star and just try and get another stadium down? Try and just get this going a little bit longer.
Yeah, with the way that the math works here, you do need to use that Moisture V-Star, or else another 240, or 140, excuse me, would be a clean knockout. So sure enough, going to see that V-Star marker flipped over, get an additional turn from this Pokemon, and there's that option once more to use the Temple of Sinnoh and make sure that this Lugia is not dealing nearly enough damage to work in a knockout.
Yeah, and here we go. So we do see a big attack with the Goodra, and essentially what you're doing here is you're turning it into a 3-hit KO while you're KOing Lugia in the meantime. And you're right, the maths here, 140 means it is going to be a 2-hit KO. You have to use Moisture V-Star. I've seen plenty of Stewie and Goodra decks playing a lot of healing. That is not the way that Kawahito's built this here. There's no actual healing here other than Moisture V-Star. Sorry, Moisture Star. So that means that essentially, if Lugia can get 2 more hits, there is going to be a KO. More likely, we're going to see a hit from Lugia, and then a hit from Stoutland is not actually going to be enough without powerful colorless energy.
Yeah, this is pretty tricky. I think the players are going over the time rules here as we have reached the end of time, if that was all of the extension that we had. And trying to understand the mapping now, as both players have 5 prize cards remaining. It's almost impossible for this to result in a 6 prize victory here now.
I mean, players will basically have to take 5 prizes in 2 turns. There is an amazing rare Raikou that Yerco's got that could potentially give a 3 prize turn and then a 2 prize turn. But you're not doing enough to actually KO the Goodra is the problem. So I'm not seeing a very easy map for either player in there. Essentially 2 remaining turns each here to try and get themselves. And if you don't take all your prizes, it is going to end in a tie here.
Yeah, it would have to be a tag team battle where you also have Stoutland double dip Fangs going in as well if you want to steal those additional prize cards. And that's not legal, so it's going to be pretty tricky. I don't expect to see a gentleman's agreement this early on in the game too, but it is nice to just see these players give us that +3 turns and see what maybe would have happened if we had enough time here to close out.
Yeah, it does look like both the players are content to just play out the next couple of turns, see how it would have ended. And it's kind of awkward, you know, you reset the maths, works out beautifully with Lugia, getting a 2-hit KO on Goodra. The thing is, Stoutland does 200 rather than 220, which actually would mean you would be just that tiny bit short if the 2 hits would be 260, which would not actually KO the Goodra here. So if Kawahito can keep getting those Temple of Sinnoh down, there is a decent chance that you KO the Lugia, and then you're in a decent position. Although it is worth noting there are no choice belt in the Yasuo and Goodra list, so, you know, that 210 on Stoutland does actually leave it slightly out of range.
I mean, Yerco was thinking about everything, about ways that this game could potentially close out here. Thinking even if Kawahito used the Mirage Gates onto the Radiant Greninja and tried to steal additional prizes that way, played down the Manaphy to avoid any of those shenanigans. So good to see, trying to make sure that the percentage points don't fall the other way. But closing out this game is that's the tricky part. I don't see it.
No, I don't see it in the time remaining, and this is a little bit sad, right? Because the first 2 games were not exactly what one of the player in each game was really not hoping for. We finally got it now, where we've got this game where both players are set up, and you know, we got 2 Archeops on one side, we got a Stewie Goodra on the other side, and this game is kind of set up to do what it's supposed to do, and then we're out of time, and it does look like we are seeing a KO on the Lugia here.
Yep, but there was no Temple of Sinnoh played, so that means there is an opportunity now for the Stoutland V to maybe find some of those powerful energies and get the Wild Tackle going.
Would need a couple of powerful colorless energy, but it is absolutely possible. I might only actually need 1 powerful colorless energy.
It's just one to get there, so certainly could happen, but it looks like Yerko's just going to go into a defensive position here. We'll see if anything else comes about from this. Yeah, actually has the Radiant Charizard, so nice Pokemon to sneak into play now, and we'll get the additional energy to avoid to work in the cost from the Excited Heart.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work very nicely indeed. Base 250 minus the 80 gives you 170, but with the 160 already on there, or the 140's already on there, that is more than enough. So, yeah, it looks like Radiant Charizard's going to come and get the KO here.
Yep. Go down to 3 prize cards here now, and then you would have that Stoutland V with the powerful energies, which would line up so great against the rest of this board. It's just Comphase and Cramorant at this stage. You'd feel very comfortable in this position as Yerco if you had just 3 more minutes.
That is the pain, unfortunately. That is the issue here, but it's not meant to be. We do see the fist bump there, and we are going to end in a well-deserved tie. Yerco did seem to be in control a little bit in that game 3, but it's all irrelevant at the end of the day.